Welcome to VMworld and the vBrownBag Tech Talk on the IT Architect series, Meet the Authors. What we want to do is talk a little bit about who we are, who are some of the authors, some of our approaches for the IT Architect series. One of the things that I wanted to share is we've looked in our years of working as VCDXs and architects for a series of books that could actually help enable people who want to move into architecture or who want to validate what they're getting and seeing what the real truth is behind the designs that they're seeing and understand it a little bit better. So we are IT Architect Resources LLC as a publisher working with Lulu and other potential publishers for creating this series. And Mark and I are the founders for doing this, but we've been partnering with a lot of other individuals who are coming up with ideas that we think will push the bar forward in helping people, both existing architects as well as aspiring architects. Let me go for it. Did you want to add anything on that side?
No, you're nailing it.
Sounds cool. I put this one quote up. I'm not going to read it right now, but it kind of takes an approach of, if you are going to do a design, do it right. In the building industry, there's a term that a lot of carpenters use, measure twice, cut once. We want to take the same approach. And if you don't know the area that you're working on, one of the things that we're trying to do is help you understand more in that aspect, but not necessarily from a system administrator perspective, more from an architecture perspective, to help you understand why certain decisions are made and the questions that you might ask of an architect as you go forward. So we've got 3 books currently in the series. We'll run through this. Foundation in the Art of Infrastructure was the first in the series. Designing Risk in IT Infrastructure and The Journey are the second 2 books that we have in the series. And we have a number of other ones that are coming next year. I'll give you some hints. They're tied to certification. They're tied to other areas related to architecture, including design and security, disaster recovery, and things like that. But we'll get you more on that as we get closer to those publication dates.
So really, I mean, at this point, we're really looking to make sure, the foundation of infrastructure design, that's been out for a year now. We've gotten some great feedback. The community keeps asking for more. And we've brought some of the other authors in and given them the power to go ahead and share what their knowledge is, their approaches are. And with the second and third books that are coming out, and we have Daemon Behr, and he's done a book, Designing Risk in IT. And it sounds funny, right? But we do this stuff every day as architects, and sharing that information. And and Melissa's done The Journey. And The Journey is really about anyone who's ever done anything, whether you're starting your first certification or you've gone all the way up to CCIE level or VCDX level, all the steps that you've taken to get there. And she's actually captured it, and being so fresh from that, she had such a great perspective. It's such a great read. Someone who's gone through it, for myself, it was awesome because it was, a flashback. It was a great story. Sharing it with some of my other team members is wonderful because they're on that same path. And we'll let them talk about it and embellish on their materials. So,
and I'll lead in, introduce Melissa.
All right, well, thank you very much. First up, my name is Melissa Palmer. I became a VCDX in November of this year. And actually, I think it was a week before my defense, Mark reached out, was like, hey, have you ever thought about writing a book? And I'm like, I actually have, and I would love to, but I'm going to defend next week. So can we talk after? And we did. And they started telling me about the series and what do you feel passionate about? And I said, this. When I started, I had no idea what I was doing. I've been a customer, I've been an SE, I've been a reference architect. I've kind of done everything along the way. And then I decided it was time to do VCDX. And I kind of wanted to put something together for everybody else to kind of help them with their journey, no matter if they want to be a VCDX or an architect or a CCIE. All the principles are really the same, so I kind of wanted to show that. Can I have the next slide, please?
Yeah.
So, it was all about my experience, what I found that worked, what I found that didn't work. I tried some things that really crashed and burned, so I didn't want everybody else to do that. And I tried some things that worked really well. My secret little tidbit was when I was a virtualization administrator and I knew I needed to learn storage because I had an idea I was going to go do something with storage very soon. I didn't know anything about it other than how to mount it into ESX, right? So I used to volunteer for storage maintenance from the VMware side. So I had to babysit my hosts.
Volunteer for weekend work.
Volunteer for weekend work, yes. I used to babysit my hosts. I didn't need to do anything because it was fine, but then I would hang on the line and listen to all the storage guys do their thing, and they would be happy to explain to me, hey, I did X, Y, Z, and here's what happened. So the journey is about how to get where you want to go, whatever it is. It also focuses on a lot of skills you'll need during your journey, like gaining new knowledge. And it also has a big emphasis on self-assessment. So you got to be really honest with yourself up front on what your skills are and how you want to get them. So in a nutshell, that is the journey. And I hope that anybody, whether you're an experienced architect, you're an aspiring architect, or you just want to know what an architect does, glean some value from it.
Cool. Thank you.
My pleasure.
And then I will turn over to Damon.
Hi there. My name is Daemon Behr. I work as a solutions architect for a company called Scalar Decisions up in Canada. We're a VAR up there. And one of the things that I do is work with enterprise clients, whether it's on the government side or financial side, medical side, utilities, a lot of really large organizations that have very critical infrastructures. And one of the things that I learned when I was working with these clients is that the design required to keep these critical systems up needs to be up 100%. They have much higher levels of SLAs that are required for them. And in order to do this, the design is very, very critical from the get-go. Instead of creating a design that you need to go back and fix year over year over year and constantly tweak it, you need some way in order to determine that the decisions that you make are actually right. So actually, we can switch to the next slide. So the way that I approached this book is I looked at what are all the dependencies that are required for critical infrastructure. If you really want to create something that is indestructible, let's look at how that would actually look like. If you have a certain service that's associated with an application, what happens when that fails? What's the cascading fault that's associated with that? How many failures can you actually endure, and how do you map that out? When you're building up an infrastructure, the really important thing is to figure out where are you going to put your resources, where are you going to put your time, and the key to that is what is the probability of failure that's associated with a certain event happening, and then what's the next thing that happens after that, and how many failures can you actually endure in that path of failure before you have a critical failure. So in this book, what I tried to do is map out all of these different sorts of things, so you can use the tools that are presented in the book in order to really delve deep into your infrastructure. And then beyond that, I look at the things that are not as technical, but very, very important to the actual design of an infrastructure, such as if you were to look at the personality profiles of the people that make the decisions within your organization, how does that actually affect the designs that need to be created within the organization? How does the manner of decisions that they make are on the executive level create certain scenarios or situations that architects and engineers need to respond to, and what do these types of personality profiles actually look like, and how can you recognize them and then compensate for that in your designs? So the key takeaway from this book is that it really broadens the horizon of how you look at designing an infrastructure, and it goes much beyond just the technical to many, many other areas that you wouldn't normally think of even looking at when you're doing the design of an infrastructure.
Cool. So I'm going to give you a quick overview of something that we've already had out. And by the way, if you're interested in the books that we have, Damon is actually doing a book signing tomorrow. Mark and Melissa and myself, are you doing another book signing tomorrow? Or? Yeah, that sounds good. And so there'll be opportunities to get some additional books either through the bookstore or through the book signings. But I want to talk really briefly for those who aren't familiar with the first book in the series. Foundation in the Art of Infrastructure Design was written by myself, Mark Gabryjelski, and Chris McCain. And what we did is we included the methodology. This goes kind of an extension to the VCDX Bootcamp book, but it's designed to be more than just one vendor's certification. It's about the methodology that we take. We use the Socratic method of trying to find the answers that we're looking for. We also wanted to include full design documentation, so for those who do not work for VMware or a partner, who don't have access to some of the templating that's used, we created our perspective of what we might use. It's not a duplicate of what that is, so you can get two perspectives if you're a partner. But the idea is help you have a design to start with to get a feeling for what we're trying to teach, and an example that you could use with modification for your own environment or for working through the VCDX certification program. And I've covered some of this in the previous slide, but one of the key things that I wanted to call out is we each have our different areas of expertise. My background is on server virtualization, and also I've been working extensively in cloud. Mark has focused a lot on the desktop side, but he's touched the server side and other areas as well. And Chris McCain focused specifically around cloud and network. And one of the things that we did in our actually design example is we have server virtualization and desktop virtualization for a imaginary company called ITAR that we made up, kind of tied to our company name. And basically look at how we might approach giving you this example that can actually help you be successful in whatever you're doing, whether you're trying to compare a design that's been given to you by somebody else, or understanding how a design decision is made so that if there is a problem or a change that needs to happen or something that works really well, you can get an understanding of the background behind that. So one of the things that I want to call out is some of the examples that we've got coming that we're working on with other authors. Disaster recovery, business continuity, security, certification. These are some of the areas that we're working on. We'll have more information up on our IT Architect site if you want to follow on that. And as part of your next steps, you can reach out and talk to Mark or myself or the co-authors to get a feel for what we're trying to do and see how we're integrating or interrelating the books that we do. So all of our books can stand alone by themselves, but we've also worked together so that they're integrated in a way that we take the same approach. These books can be used for training. We think it could be a secondary or an optional book maybe for some of those recommended professor books in university, but we also see people who are doing education or consulting, if you're a VCI or things like that, these could provide benefit and give you some additional understanding or talking points or examples that you might want to use. And so we've had a couple of different signings here. We will be at least a couple of us will be at VMworld Barcelona. Myself and Chris McCain. I'm not sure if I'm working on getting Mark out there as well. But I definitely encourage you to reach out and talk to us. We've got some cards here about the series. And if you are interested in being an author and are interested in doing an architecture type of book designed to teach as well as be a reference, we're looking for that. And we're looking for people who can write, but it's not always essential that you have to have perfect writing, but it does help, obviously. So please reach out to us, and we're happy to help you in that particular area. And so I definitely want to thank you. We've got our contact information on Twitter handles, but if you want to get our business cards, we can share them with you after the session. So thank you, guys.